Chapter 2, Mishnah 8. The Torah describes various types of mincha offerings that are eaten. See Vayikra, chapter 2, verses 1 through 16, chapter 5, verses 11 through 13, and Bamidbar, chapter 5, verse 11. The process of a typical mincha is as follows. A person brings the flour for the mincha to the temple courtyard and places it in a special kli sheres. He then places oil and levona on the flour and brings it to the Kohen. The Kohen brings the kli sheres to the southwest corner of the Mizbeach. The avodah of the mincha offering has 4 steps, which parallel the 4 steps of the blood service of an animal korban. 1. Kemitza. The Kohen scoops up a fistful of the mincha, the kometz, with his hand. This is parallel to the shechita of an animal, which draws out its blood. 2. Placing in a vessel. The Kohen puts the kometz into a second kli sheres, which is parallel to the kabbalah of the animal's blood in a kli sheres. 3. Bringing. The Kohen brings the kometz to the mizbeach, which is parallel to the holacha of the animal's blood to the mizbeach. 4. Haktara. The Kohen burns the kometz of the mincha on the mizbeach, which is parallel to the zerika of the animal's blood on the mizbeach. After the kometz is burned on the mizbeach, the remainder of the mincha is eaten by the kohanim. See Sota 14b. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. Mincha offerings are subject to me'ilah from when a person consecrates the flour and oil by declaring, "This flour and oil are consecrated for such and such a mincha." Once they are consecrated in a kli sheres, they receive a higher level of sanctity and become capable of being disqualified through contact with the tevel yom or a mechusar kippurim, or through remaining past their time, i.e., if the kometz of the mincha was not offered on the mizbeach before nightfall, after the kometz is offered on the mizbeach, one can become liable to kares for the transgression of pigul, nosar, or tameh, by eating the remainder of the mincha in a situation where one of those laws applies. Thus, if while performing one of the 4 avodos of the mincha, the Kohen had in mind to eat the remainder of the mincha or to offer its kometz past its allowed time, the mincha is pigul. One who eats such a mincha after the kometz was offered on the mizbeach is subject to kares for eating pigul. Similarly, after the kometz is offered on the mizbeach, a person can become liable to kares for the transgression of eating nosar if he eats the remainder of the mincha past its allowed time. And after the kometz is offered on the mizbeach, a person can become liable to kares for eating the remainder of the mincha when he is tameh. And after the kometz is offered, the remainder of the mincha is no longer subject to me'ilah. Since the remainder is now permitted to the kohanim, it is no longer considered the holies of Hashem, and is therefore no longer subject to me'ilah. But the kometz is still subject to me'ilah until it is entirely burned on the mizbeach and its ashes go out to the place of the ashes outside Jerusalem. Since the kometz does not become permitted to the kohanim and must be burned on the mizbeach, it remains the holies of Hashem. Therefore, it continues to be subject to me'ilah until the mitzvah of burning it and any mitzvah related to its ashes, i.e., taking the ashes to the place of ashes, is completed.